Hello makers. On this recording of putting R2D2's dome together, I'm going to PLA weld all of these seams. Now before starting to weld them up, and there's one seam just here, I've been going through and making sure I've got nuts and bolts and all of the holes provided for joining these parts together. Now some of the joints are still a little bit on the large side with gaps, so I'm going to have to try and clamp those before I weld, make sure everything's as aligned as possible. Hello makers. While I was recording plastic welding of the bottom part of the R2D2's dome, I ran into a slight problem with this 3D pen. Towards the end of it, the temperature was fluctuating somewhat wildly. The result is that I had to abort welding with it because it kept on shutting down my welding process, with the temperature fluctuating between 170 degrees C and 230 degrees C. This is not a particularly good situation to be in when you're playing with PLA. The good news is I did have another 3D pen on hand. Now I don't know if you heard that or can see it, but there was a bit of crackling and steam coming off. This filament has obviously absorbed a fair bit of moisture. Currently I'm drying a heap of other filament so that we can eliminate that problem. But it shows that filament just lying around does actually absorb moisture, and quite a bit of it. We'll continue with welding up R2D2's dome. Because I printed this on the smaller form factor bed, I've got a lot of smaller parts to weld onto it now. So one of the things you want to make sure is you have these tracks clear to line up and slot in. If you're like me, to get better bed adhesion during the print, I tend to have it over extrude the first layer. That results in it closing up some gaps, so you will need, if you do that, you will need to sand or cut it out, or scrape using a Stanley knife works as well. Tacking the back part, make sure that it's actually going to hold and stay put. I'm tacking each part, or different parts of the component, to make sure it all stays put while I do the main weld seam. You may note I'm holding pressure on while I do this. And that's holding quite well. You'll note there's a filament extruding out even though the extruder's not running. That's a result of moisture in the filament. Okay, it looks like it's in place, sitting there nicely. I'll tack I think I might give it a break for a minute. The tip's starting to get quite warm on the 3D pen. Okay, so I've welded up all of these seams. They will need sanding obviously. Next trick is to put this part, which I welded up in a previous video, and attach it to the top. Now to do that I've cleaned up the holes for the alignment pins, and that's just a bit of filament cut from the end, and I've used a little bit of super glue in each hole to try and hold them in place while I align them. One of the holes is actually offset, which is this one here, so we know which way it goes on. It's just a matter of lining up each of these holes, and I have cleaned them all out so they all should fit quite easily. And I found welding at 190 degrees C wasn't that good, but welding at 200 worked quite well. The hotter temperature allows you to bury the tip in deeper. And that looks pretty much attached. Next step, lots and lots of sanding to try and get rid of most of the layer lines, and to definitely remove these seams, or the raised edges of these seams. Okay, after a bit of a sand, while you can still see the weld marks, it's because it was a different coloured filament. It actually feels a lot smoother. I got rid of most of the layer lines. So the next, I've also removed the supports in the print. So the next trick is to give it a coat of spray putty. There's a couple of low patches like here, but other than that it's not too bad. Next step is to spray putty and paint. So that'll do for this video. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next video.